What's up and welcome to Me, You, and Switch 2. I am me, Tom Tate, and you are you. So let's talk about Switch 2. This is the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news brought to you every Tuesday and Friday in snackable 5 to 10 minute episodes. Today happens to be Friday. It is June 26th. It is 8:02 a.m. on the East Coast. This is episode 112. I hope that you had a great week. I'm limiting the pre-show banter because we've got a lot to cover today. So it wasn't that long ago that we didn't even know that a Star Fox remake for Nintendo Switch 2 existed. They announced this, I think, on May 6th, so it hasn't even been 2 months, and now it's finally here. So today I want to do what we always do when a big Nintendo game releases. I read through a big stack of reviews. In this case, it is a browser full of tabs, and I want to give you a roundup on how critics felt about this game. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so if you haven't been following along, this is Star Fox on Switch 2. It is a full remake of Star Fox 64 back from 1997, which, fun fact, was a remake itself of the 1993 Super Nintendo original. And there are, folks who are arguing that it's not only a remake of a remake, it's actually a remake of a remake of a remake. There are multiple layers of inception of remakes here with this Star Fox, and it's been a bit controversial when they first announced this. We'll come back to that because that's kind of the whole story of this game, and you'll see that theme pop up in a lot of the reviews. This game is developed by Velan Studios. They are not new to working on Nintendo games. They are the folks behind Mario Kart Live Home Circuit and Knockout City. This is running on their in-house Viper engine. There was a lot of speculation that this was Unreal. This is not. This is the Viper engine. On the price, the physical version is $59.99, but the eShop digital version will be $49.99. Nintendo's doing that whole $10 off for digital thing, which I can appreciate. And I want to flag that right up front because for a brand new first-party Nintendo release, $50 is a lot better than $70. So this is a good thing because just as a quick side note, I don't know if you saw this, but earlier this week, they announced that Xbox is getting another price increase. And Apple just jacked up the price of a lot of their existing line of iPads and MacBooks, including the MacBook Neo, which is supposed to be their cheaper kind of competitive product. So we have to take what we can get in this new world we're living in. So $49.99 if you want to play Star Fox is not that bad. So I read somewhere about a dozen reviews maybe. The scores land pretty high across the board. We'll start high. Nintendo Life's Jim Norman gave it a 9 out of 10. His one-line summary is pretty great. He calls it a sublime remaster of Star Fox 64, and that's both its best and worst feature. Honestly, I could stop the episode there and you'll understand what I'm talking about with this game. And that really is kind of the crux of this whole roundup, right? He raves about the visuals. Here's one quote. He wrote, "It's staggeringly beautiful from beginning to end, and there's not a single weak link." He applauds the, quote, snappy controls. He also shared how the new challenge and online modes expand playability, along with all the alternate routes that are available throughout the game. His joys: an incredible remaster of Fox's greatest adventure, some of the best visuals on Switch 2, great voice acting and additional cutscenes make for well-rounded characters, challenge modes encourage more replays, incredibly entertaining online matches, and his only two cons: one, it's Star Fox 64 again, and two, online options feel a little slight with no local split screen. So again, he gave it a 9 out of 10. No split screen definitely feels like a miss. I think the whole, it's Star Fox 64. You'll hear a lot more of that, of course. Game Informer's Kyle Hilliard landed at 8.25 out of 10. He has a similar take. He flat out writes, and I quote, "Another remake of Star Fox 64 is not what I want from this franchise." But then he spends a lot of the rest of the review admitting he can't deny how good the game is. The reorchestrated music, he calls out the modern lighting, the great controls, the nostalgia of it all. He has the same kind of push and pull. IGN's Jada Griffin gave it an 8 out of 10. She calls it the best 20 or so hours of Star Fox I've ever played. She breaks it down pretty practically. She says, and I think this is important if you are concerned about how much game you're actually getting for $50. She writes, "A full 7-mission run might only last an hour or less, but it took me about 10 hours to see all the different paths and earn every medal on both the normal and expert difficulties." Her main gripe is the multiplayer battle mode, which apparently only has 3 maps, and she hopes that Nintendo continues to expand on that over time. They have been pretty good at supporting their games, especially games like these. Jada also went deeper into the additional lore that you can explore in the game, cosmetic system, the game camera avatars. We talked a bit about that after the direct, and amiibo support, which there is limited amiibo support for this game. I'll link to all of the articles. So if you care about that stuff, if you want to dig deeper, check out Jada's review. Now for the other side of the coin, Polygon did not slap a score on it. They typically don't. They don't score their games like a number score, but their review was maybe the most critical of all of the reviews that I read. Giovanni Colantonio titled it, Star Fox can't outfly an all-time Nintendo classic. Flashier visuals and cinematic cutscenes don't move the needle for an already great game. His whole angle is that the game, and I quote, confuses modernity for maturity. That was a quote. Basically, all those high-res, new cutscenes, and the more realistic character models don't actually make the game any deeper. They don't make the story any deeper. It's still Star Fox 64, and it's almost as if it's trying too hard to be cinematic. It's still the same game. And I've come to really appreciate Giovanni's reviews. I appreciate that he didn't just regurgitate everything everyone else said. When you read a bunch of these reviews for some of these games, like I felt this way with Yoshi in the Mysterious Book, you start to just read the same things over and over again. He actually has a solid point of view. It's unique. So Giovanni, I appreciate that. Nintendo Insider's Ryan Janes also gave it a 9 out of 10. He made it a point to call out how good it looks and runs. And here's a quote. He wrote, "It goes without saying, but Star Fox feels like the first Nintendo-published game to truly show what the Nintendo Switch 2 is capable of. And as a result, makes Star Fox feel like an important release, and better still, an important series once more." So I think Ryan is definitely bringing up a good point that in order for Star Fox to soar into new territory, maybe it has to be relevant again, and maybe this is a way to do that. The glossy visuals were a thread that I saw everywhere, of course. Like, everyone just praised how good this game looked. John Rarden at Nintendo World Report gave it a 9 out of 10. John's prose, amazing soundtrack, a technical marvel, fits better alongside sequels than 64 did. Fun multiplayer, hugely improved storyline and character development, and lore with an exclamation point. His cons, challenges are awkwardly implemented, and multiplayer lacks enough content for long-term engagement. Nintendo Life always does a good job, too, of their putting out a review roundup. So from the Nintendo Life review roundup, Vooks gave it a 5 out of 5, calling it the new definitive way to experience the game. VGC, 4 out of 5. On the lower end, GameSpot and the Sixth Axis both gave it a 7. GameSpot pointed out, and this was interesting, they called it an attempt at a reset for the franchise, but they say it's hard to fully recommend because the original Star Fox 64 is already sitting right there on Switch Online if you've got the expansion pass. So you can play this game right now, Star Fox 64, just with your Switch Online expansion pass membership. As of recording this, Star Fox is sitting around an 81 on Metacritic. From a technical front, Digital Foundry always does a great technical deep dive. They did one on Star Fox. The results were pretty solid. Stable 60 frames per second. Image quality around 1080p as expected. No stutter. Really sophisticated lighting system. And apparently it optimizes HDR-capable TVs really well. Pretty much every reviewer independently called out the visuals and the new orchestral soundtrack as a highlight. So it sounds like Valan, really did do a good job delivering on the audio-visual side. So here's where I land, kind of pulling it all together. The entire roundup basically asks the question, how do you feel about playing Star Fox 64 one more time? The game is almost 30 years old. The 3DS remake is probably 15 years old. So I think it's fair for them in this cadence to release it the way that they did. It seems like a very safe remake. There are no surprises. But if you've never played Star Fox or Star Fox 64, or it's been a couple of decades, then pretty much everyone agrees that this is like one of the best looking ways to experience one of Nintendo's all-time greatest games. And at $50 digital, at least they're not asking you to cash in, $70 on nostalgia alone. Now, I have a feeling that later in the year we'll be having a similar conversation with Ocarina of Time, because I'm becoming more and more convinced, I can feel it in my bones, that this will be the same safe one-to-one remake that Star Fox is. Amazing visuals, orchestrated soundtrack, crisp controls, cinematic cutscenes, maybe a full voice cast, larger than life in every way. But at the end of the day, the same core game to a T, same story beats, same mechanics, everything, right? First released on N64, remade on 3DS. It's the same formula. They're doing it again with Ocarina of Time. Same thing that they did with Star Fox. It's a longer game. You're getting more hours of playtime, so I wouldn't be shocked if it is, $70 physical, $60 digital, even though it's a one-to-one remake. It seems like they price these games a little bit around like how many hours of play you'll get out of it. That's like a hunch that I have. I'm going to play through it. I'm going to play through Ocarina of Time. I'll play through Star Fox. I'll play both of these. I love these games. I'm still on Adventures of Elliot at the moment. I don't have the budget for all these new releases, so I'll have to wait a bit. But definitely planning to hop back into an R-Wing at some point. I'm glad to hear that this didn't tank. It's good to hear that, all around the reviews were pretty high on this one. I'll link to the reviews in the show notes if you want to go deeper on any of these. And I know we're past the 11-minute mark, but real quick, we have more news to cover. So I'm going to be fast. Capcom had a Summer Spotlight presentation yesterday. I didn't see too much worth reporting on, but I'll link to it. Sega shadow dropped Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition for Switch 2 on Tuesday for $50. Nintendo Life gave that one a 4 out of 10. Not great. So buyer beware. Look at Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition with extreme caution. Wonder Stop from Annapurna Interactive did get its release. We talked about that possibly coming out this month, but we weren't sure. It looks like that's $21.24 right now on a pre-sale price. Nintendo Life gave it an 8 out of 10. It reviewed really well on other platforms. It's been out for a year. It's like a cozy, narrative-driven tea shop simulation if you want to check that out. There were like 16 games that released in the past week. The Drifter, The Necromancer's Tale, Tekken on Arcade Archives. If Tuesday's news cycle is slow, I'll try to cover some of the games that were released that we missed. Then next Friday will be the first episode of the month for July, so I'll look at all the July games that we know about. It's pretty stacked already. All right, that's it for today. I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention. If you've got 10 seconds before you close the app and get on to your weekend, open Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a star rating. You don't have to write a single word if you don't want to. This show runs on 0 ads, 0 promotion, so rating is genuinely the easiest thing that you can do to help a new listener stumble upon the show. If you do leave a few words, I'll definitely read them on the air. You can find everything at switch2pod.com. That's switch with the number 2 pod. I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram, same handle. And there's free bonus content over at patreon.com/switch2pod. There are no paid tiers. So if you want to get the free stuff, it is fully free. Have an amazing weekend. Make the most of it. Monday comes fast, as we like to say here. Much love. Now go play some games.